Hi, this is a deck that I wanted to share with you that helps you figure out if you want to go and move ahead with the customer or not for a pilot or an early paid engagement. So this is an example from my own personal experience, probably close to 7, 8 years ago right now, where we met with Twitter and we were proposing an app that would help Twitter employees learn and practice mindfulness on their phone. And the idea would be to help them, take powerful breaks or de-stress using their phone. So obviously the benefit to Twitter would be maybe productivity or happier employees or stuff like that. So anyhow, so this is the deck that we used. I'm going to share the template for this, and it's quite useful methodology. So anyway, I'm going to quickly go through it right now. So start with this slide, the purpose and the agenda of the meeting, not just the agenda, but the purpose. So understand your needs, how does our product address them, and where in your priority list does this product fall. So that's really the goal of the meeting from my perspective going in there. And then how we're going to actually go about that is we're going to talk about you, and we're going to talk about the product, and obviously I'm going to demo it. Then we're going to kind of review the features, talk about clarifications. Clarifications is a nice way to talk about the limitations of the product. Obviously, it's very early. So you just want to set expectations there. And then we can talk about adoption and who would use it and when. So kind of walk through the agenda, and then I say, what would you like from the meeting? Is this kind of, are we all on the same page? Generally, people say, yeah, this sounds great. So then we say, okay, let's jump into the agenda, but first let's do some introductions, right? So then obviously I talk about myself, and this is really important that you want to gain as much credibility about yourself as much as possible. So I talk about all the different Fortune 500 companies I've worked with and all the deals I've closed, the startups I've worked with, and then I'm actually trained in teaching mindfulness. So that's my credibility behind this, right? So then now that I've kind of told them about myself, it's easier for me to ask, okay, so can I ask a couple of questions about you? So I tailored these short questions. So tell me more about your key wellnesses initiatives right now. So and then after they talk about that, it's the metrics and goals, and then challenges maybe, and then also critical members that are not here. So you're trying to figure out the people as well as the initiatives and the challenges. Okay, then we move on to the problem. So this is the problem that we solve, right? So what I put up here is a bunch of quotes that are nicely numbered. Go through each of them. These are kind of the problems that we've learned from other organizations that we help address. And then we ask them, now that we've gone through these problems, look, what resonates with you from 1 through 4 here? And if not, none of them, then is there a number 5? And how would you articulate the problem that you feel that we could address? And what do you have as solutions to those problems right now, or current solutions, if any, right? So it's a great way to flush out the problem and the current solution right now before you jump into the product. Then the next stage is to kind of give a high-level overview of the product. It starts with like a viral invite where people can refer other employees. Then there's a goal setting and tracking mechanism. There's the experience of the product itself. Then there's incentives and rewards to bring people back, and then there's reports for management. So kind of outline the high-level components, and then go through and demo each of those. And then after the demo, we kind of summarize the key features that they experienced, the assessment engine, the learning and practice, the smart scheduler, the persuasive design to give enhanced motivation, and the reporting. And then you ask them, what stood out most to you? So you're asking for them, what do they like and what do they not like? So the $100 test might be quite powerful here, where you ask them to, if they had $100 to divvy up between all these features, how would they allocate that? So that'd be very telling after you talk to 5, 10 customers to see where the zeros are. And it might tell you that those features are not very much valued, and also where they put the money obviously would be the priority. Then the next slide is to talk about justifications. Now that you've experienced the product, here are examples of what other people, other users have done. The reports and dashboards provide ability to track and measure the effectiveness or ROI, right? Stress reduction has far-reaching favorable impact on other chronic conditions. So these are things what people said, or And then you could ask them, what again resonated with you, or was there another kind of quote that you would like to provide? And then clarifications, as I said, is a short word for, a nicer word for limitations. So, we're focusing right now on improving personal effectiveness, not really chronic illnesses or whatever like that. We're trying to improve productivity at these companies by using these techniques. And then we want to pilot before we do a broad scale deployment. Obviously, people need a smartphone. Not as much of an issue right now, but yeah, like 5-7 years ago, it was. And it was the program, and it's a cloud-based application, right? So anyway, you lay out all that as far as potential limitations. You say, are any of these deal breakers? Next slide. Next slide is the footprint of the organization, and how we match. This is quite powerful to kind of figure out where you fit in the overall organization, to figure out from user perspective, from a budget perspective, and maybe some reports that you generate, right? Again, the theme here is you just show what you have and then have a discussion around it. It's a very powerful technique to help you learn all about how your product could be used in the organization by different people. Then we talk about packaging and pricing. This is revenue models and pricing. Again, to lay out just on a slide and then have a conversation around it. Really, the theme is, how would you like to pay for this thing? And then how much would you pay? 2 separate questions, right? And then the next slide is talking about, we call it the charter account program, or the demo, or the pilot program. And this is kind of where you start moving towards a sales mode. But you're trying to explain, like we have, in this case, we have a 3-week charter account program or pilot program. And it'll be for 20 to 30 employees. And the next step will be meet with the stakeholder and align on the communication package. And then after the 3 weeks, we'll review the results. How often did people use this, and what was their reaction, etc. Right? The benefits to you would be the product. We're going to get this working for your employees. You get early access, and we'll give you great support, make sure it works. And then you can create some kind of scarcity here by saying, look, we're focusing on these particular segments. So in Twitter's case, you'd be one of 2 pilot customers. And if you're interested, then we can move to next steps. If not, we can move on. You can also add in a price if you want for the pilot. Feel free to. You need to put it on this slide. In this case, we didn't want to charge initially. And then we talk about adoption. Now that they understand the product, you've talked about the organization. Like, you can ask them just to clarify who will use it and when. What is the alternative right now, or the competition? Who would make the decision? What is the problem that we solve? We can talk about willingness to pay. And then the last question here is like, the magic wand. Is there, that you've seen the product, if you give you a magic wand, you could have anything you want. What would that be? The wish list. And then the final slide is really just to wrap up, just to clarify. So the problem we solve, you can maybe reiterate it back to them. And what they said, right? And what they said that was missing, how important it is. You could ask them how important this is. Is it a single, a homer, or a double? And whatever they say here would be really interesting to ask why. Why did you say it was a homer, or why did you say it was a single? Really good information to capture. And then you can ask about the next meeting, and then how would you describe this to the person who's not here, and then thank them for their time. So anyhow, that's the deck. It's a very powerful way to flush out customers and set the right expectations, etc., for your pilots. So interested to see what you think, and please give me some feedback. Thanks.